Thanks very much to Dan and to Michael and our music team for My Sweet Lord. My journey to become a licensed Unity teacher began in the fall of 2012. I flew to Unity Village to begin taking spiritual education and enrichment classes. I was very excited about this. I felt called to do it. And I got to Unity Village and I went to my first class, which was going to be Unity Metaphysics. And I was going to get to study with Reverend Dr. I was going to study with Reverend Dr. Paul Hasselbeck, the man who literally wrote the book on Unity Metaphysics. And I walked into that class and I was so happy and I was so excited and I sat down and I couldn't wait to learn. Frankly, a lot of what I thought I already knew. I'll admit it. I was a little cocky, sure. So I went in confident and I came out confused. I came out bewildered at some of the terms that I was hearing in this class. It was full of terms that I'd never heard before, that I didn't quite understand. Embedded theology, adjacent possible. That's okay, we're not going to talk about those things. But believe me, it had my head wrapped around the tree. But the thing that we heard overwhelmingly, not just in that first class, but in all the classes, was that God is principle. God is principle. God is principle. And in this Unity church, and in several Unity churches, we hear that same thing, and we hear it a lot. And we usually hear it in the context of our first Unity principle: there is only one presence and one power, God the good. But what we often don't do is talk, we talk about what that means, but we don't really talk so much about what that doesn't mean. And in this class that I took, we were beginning to talk about what it doesn't mean, at least in the context of Unity Metaphysics as it's now being taught. We're told, or I was told, that accepting God as principle meant that God was no longer protector. God was no longer comforter. God was no longer mother or father. God was principle, something that we could use. And I didn't react well to this when I heard it, because I felt like something vital, like something precious was being taken from me. Like I had to give up something that I really wanted to hold on to, that I really wanted to cling to. And I walked out of that first class and I didn't like it one darn bit, to the point that I thought, I wonder if this Unity stuff is really for me after all. After all, Unity is supposed to feel good. It's supposed to be warm and fuzzy. This is what I thought Unity was, and this is what I continue to want it to be. I didn't want to give that up. And I'm not telling you the story today about my experience because I think my experience is in any way unique or special. Just the opposite. I'm telling this story now because I think to some extent many of us who find our way into Unity churches have a similar kind of experience. It's worth noting that in Unity, some people grow up in Unity. For some people it is their faith tradition from the earliest time they can remember. But for most of us, we have a different kind of pedigree, a different kind of background. Probably in this room, there are people who were raised Catholic, Southern Baptist, various forms of Protestant, Buddhist, or some who weren't really raised in any kind of faith tradition at all. And we all come here because we're attracted to these teachings and these practices and how we can use them to change and elevate our consciousness. But what happens a lot is that we bring with us, like trucking suitcases in. We bring with us everything that we were taught before we got here. And one of the last things, one of the hardest things to let go of, is this idea of God as Father, of God as a protector, of God as a comforter. A few minutes ago, we heard My Sweet Lord, and I was drawn to this song while I was putting this talk together because I thought, what is Lord? And is it the same thing to me as it is to all of you, or to any of you? Maybe it is, maybe not. And I thought, well, when we talk about Lord, when we sing about Lord, when we read Lord in the Bible or in other places, what is it that we're talking about? First and foremost, I thought of, it's coming. First and foremost, I thought of Jesus. Those of us who grew up in a Catholic or a Protestant background, Jesus is Lord. Okay. But then what about Lord Krishna? George Harrison in the song is singing about Lord Krishna. For some people, maybe, Lord is Lord Buddha. For still other people of a certain age and of a more secular orientation, this could be what you think of when you think of Lord. Probably not, but maybe. I don't know. And that led me to wonder how unity approaches this idea of Lord. Unity that interprets the Bible metaphysically. What does Lord mean in the unity theology? Again, come. Okay. This book is called The Revealing Word. It was written by Charles Fillmore, and it is a dictionary of metaphysical terms, and that's where I went to answer this question. And unity, at least at the time of the writing of this book, defines the word Lord like this. Lord, the activity of the spiritual I am as the ruling consciousness, our divine consciousness, the creative power within us. Well, that kind of changes things a little, doesn't it? If Lord is our own creative power, it gives us the space to look at the Bible and other sacred writings and just the word Lord in general in a different way. And I want to be clear when I say this. Just the fact that Charles Fillmore or Unity posits this as the definition of Lord doesn't mean that it necessarily has to cancel out or negate any of your own conceptions of what Lord means to you from your own faith tradition. And what I'm trying to do here is just expand everyone's container a little bit to maybe broaden and accept this new way of thinking about it. So I was looking at a Bible search engine for a good example of how to maybe interpret something in the Bible using the word Lord metaphysically. And I came upon this. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. I know, in a more traditional sense, what I think of when I read these words. I read that I am being comforted and I am being protected in the way that I had grown up thinking of being comforted and protected. But what if the Lord is our spiritual I am? What if it is our creative power? My I am blesses me. My I am confers prosperity upon me, which is what to bless something means. My I am keeps me. My I am, my creative power, maintains me throughout my life. My I am, my creative power, illuminates me and grants me grace. My I am, my creative power, illuminates my consciousness. And my illumined consciousness allows me to live in a state of peace and grace. It's a new way. It's an expanded way of looking at something that perhaps, from a viewpoint that perhaps we did not have before. Excuse me. So back to my story. I got through that class. I wrote the paper, I passed it. I took other classes. But I still had that nagging feeling, that nagging feeling that something was being pulled from me that I did not want to give up. I still wanted to hold on to it. I then took a course, a Unity course, called the 12 Powers. The 12 Powers is one of the more foundational Unity teachings. Charles Fillmore wrote a book on it. More recently, Paul Hasselbeck wrote a book on it, updating a lot of its language. And more recently still, a Unity minister in San Antonio named Reverend Linda Martello Whitsett. She is the same Unity minister who wrote the book How to Pray Without Talking to God, with which some of you may be familiar. Wrote a book updating it still further, and she called this book Divine Audacity. The 12 Powers. I shouldn't go on Jeopardy because I really don't have the map for how these things work, apparently.
But you're wonderful, Jessica.
Thank you. These 12 powers, or 12 abilities, are divine ideas. And divine ideas is a concept that was also new to me when I went to Unity Village, and I'm going to share a little bit with you about what those are. Divine ideas, and particularly these 12 ideas, are powers that, when taken as a whole, comprise the Christ, which is our own spiritual identity. Sound a little confusing? It's okay, because I like to think of it this way. Has everybody here used a computer at least once, or maybe twice? Probably. Everybody's been in that neighborhood, everybody knows kind of sort of how they work. So when you start a computer, when you buy a new one, when you go to an office and they give you one, there are certain things that you can assume, that there's going to be some kind of pre-installed software. There's going to be the ability to do word processing. There's going to be the ability to create a spreadsheet. There's going to be an ability to go into the control panel and set the date and time, to choose screensavers. These are all things that are basic to computers that they all share, whether it is Apple, whether it is Dell, whether it is Smith Corona, or anything else. We have that assumption that this pre-installed software is going to be available, and from that we are able to customize what we want our computer to look like. And I like to think of divine ideas, and particularly these 12 divine ideas, as our spiritual installed software. We all have them. And in fact, we're all using them all the time. The key, the transformational piece, is learning what they are and how to use them. How to call them into service for ourselves, to create, to direct the life, the course of the life, the quality of the experience that we're trying to have. So, I like this definition in Heart-Centered Metaphysics by Paul Hasselbeck. Divine ideas are spiritual patterns that are inherent in all of us, which is another way of saying it is our spiritual pre-installed software. So when I began to understand what divine ideas were and how they worked, a bridge formed in my mind from my old way of thinking, from my old way of wanting to cling to God as protector, and God as creator, and God as comforter. And I really began to start to get what we've been talking about all these years, which is that God is expressing as me. God is expressing as you. God is expressing as you, as all of us. So the 12, not to keep you in any kind of suspense at all, but the 12 powers that we're talking about here, and the slide is a little distorted, I'm just going to read through, and this is what we're going to be talking about in the Divine Audacity class. Faith, which is simply our capacity, our ability to believe. Strength, our capacity, our ability, our power to persevere, to endure. Love, our power, our ability to draw toward us and to harmonize. Imagination, which I think speaks for itself. It's the idea, it's the power to conceive of an idea and really begin to clothe it in form. Our divine power of power itself, which is our ability to take dominion, to take control. Understanding, our ability to understand, our ability to use our intuition. Wisdom, our ability to discern, to make judgments. And not judgments in the pop culture kind of way of, oh, you're so judgmental, but rather to evaluate and to make decisions. Will, our ability to choose, to make choices. Order, our ability to sequence and to place things in order. Release, our ability to let go of things that no longer serve us. Zeal, our capacity for enthusiasm, and life, our very vitality, our life force itself. Everyone has these. And just by virtue of the fact of having them, that means they are ours to use. And like a computer, they are ours to customize any way that we choose to, any way that we want to achieve, to move toward, to embody the kind of life that we envision for ourselves. Okay. Okay. So to give you an example of how this might work in a prayer type situation, let's take the power, the ability, the faculty of strength, which is our inherent capacity, or our inherent power or capacity to endure, to stay the course, to persevere. Prior to coming to unity, a prayer involving strength might be something like, God, please give me the strength to carry on. I don't know how much more I can take, so I pray that in your mercy, you will give me the strength to endure. But then we come to unity. We attend the services. We read the books. We take the classes. We learn about affirmative prayer. We learn that the divine is in me. And an affirmative prayer, calling upon the power of strength, might sound a little more like this. God within me is giving me the strength to carry on and endure. I deny any appearances of fatigue or exhaustion because the Christ within is helping me to persevere. Now in unity, this is what we refer to as vessel consciousness. The idea that there is divinity, that there is a one presence and one power, and it's in me. It's in me. It's not all of me, but it is in me. And other things are in me too, apparently. But when we practice divine audacity, which is knowing that we have the divine ideas, that they are our spiritually installed software, when we know that, then we can practice what we also refer to in unity as verity consciousness, truth consciousness. And our prayer for strength might sound more like this. I am strong and stable. I am strength itself. I am centered to truth in times of instability, and no outer circumstance can shake me loose from my instability. I am strong. Amen. This is divine audacity, and this is what finally allowed me to take comfort in principle. This is what gave me the awareness that everything I had looked to God to give me, God had already given me. It's already in here. And just like that, God was back. The God who in my first metaphysics class I thought I had to give up in order to be a true unity metaphysician was back. God was back as creator. God was back as comforter. God was back as protector. God was back as father and as mother. The difference now was that protection and that comfort was no longer without. I knew it as within. Divine audacity is knowing that there is no distance between the creator and the created. Divine audacity is living from the conviction that everything you could ever need is already inside you. Divine audacity is knowing that God cannot give you what you're asking for one simple reason. God has already given it to you. You have it. Divine audacity is truly, truly realizing that the light is not just within you. The light is you. So let's take this to our time of meditation. As we begin to really take in this idea of our holiness, as as we begin to take in this idea that there is no distance between the Creator and the created, as we begin to relax into this awareness that these divine ideas together make us the Christ that we are. The strength, the discernment, the imagination, the enthusiasm, the vitality is stirring in you right now. These divine ideas are waiting to be called by you into their highest and best expression. As you begin to open to believe in the power of your own divinity, you are divine. The light that is the light of the world is your light to shine, your light to share, your light to radiate, to heal, to help, to inspire. It is all in you. It is all you right now. And it is yours to boldly claim it. It is yours to say, I am that. I am divine. I am whole. There is no distance. God, Spirit, Principle is expressing uniquely, divinely, beautifully as you right now. How will you let your light shine? How will you be the light of the world? With open mind and soft, open heart, embrace your true nature, your divinity in the silence. Bringing your awareness back into the room. Know that in this silence, in this sacred space, you have touched not something outside, not even something within, but the totality of your own divine self, the totality, the truth, the deep, unchanging truth of your own holiness. The truth is that you are God expressing at the point of you You are holy, and you are whole.
I